Did you know that every word you speak matters? Are your conversations making a difference? With a passion for words and a heart for conversation, Teresa Velardi is a self-professed word nerd, best-selling author, BizCat 360 columnist, and publisher. Children's books as well as fiction and nonfiction books are welcomed at We Be Books Publishing and Book Endeavors, the imprints of her company, Authentic Endeavors Publishing. Whether written or spoken, Teresa strives to encourage and inspire meaningful conversations that make a difference. Here's the host of Conversations That Make a Difference, Teresa Velardi.
Welcome to Conversations That Make a Difference. I am Teresa Velardi, and this is Abundance 2.0, and I'm excited to bring this show to you today. But before we get started, let me say that we are on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday of the month. You can listen live on syndicated Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, online and mobile, in the cars, on YouTube, and by asking Alexa, play Dream Vision 7 Network. So I am really excited to start this, but as many of you know, we start with a prayer, and let's say the Serenity Prayer, and then I have something to add to that as well. So God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And it is by God's grace that we are fabulous, blessed, and highly favored, living in our greatness, using our gifts and talents, making a difference in the lives of others with passion and purpose, and all of God's great universe is conspiring in our favor. And we gratefully say, amen. Amen. So let me introduce our guests today. Up in the corner there, we have Scott Zuckman. And Scott is a nationally renowned speaker and highly sought after entrepreneur, business owner, internet marketer, and investor. He began his career as a highly successful product creator and advertising copywriter. In 1992, his internet advertising agency was born. He then began selling websites and internet advertising, and Scott was interviewed and written up in Wired magazine for the founding and development of his huge internet marketing company. For the last 37 years, Scott has been a successful real estate investor, entrepreneur, and independent contractor for many top training companies. And for the last 13 years, he's been one of the most sought after seminar, workshop speakers, and trainers. Currently, Scott proudly teaches people from all walks of life how they can build wealth in their spare time, then scale up to a full-time business and financial freedom. Welcome, Scott. Tony Hubbard is a serial entrepreneur for the last 21 years. 18 of those years are in network marketing and direct sales space. He is laser focused on serving the masses to success. Tony has been married for 32 years and is blessed with 6 beautiful children. He credits his success to being a servant leader, following the philosophy of one of his first mentors, Zig Ziglar, who said, "You can have everything you want in life if you simply help enough other people get what they want." And he also affectionately is called the quote master. I would challenge you on that, Tony. I would challenge you. I remember Zig Ziglar's first program, "See you at the top," right?
100%.
Right. Yes, indeed. Indeed. So let's start this conversation by you finishing this sentence. We'll start with you, Tony. If you were to finish this sentence, money is, how would you finish it?
I would say money is a medium of exchange. That's what I would say. If you look at the history of money, and because of the industry I'm in and dealing with, gold and silver, I studied the history. And if you look at the very beginning, wheat was used as money, animals was used as money. Then civilization first started developing, coins or currency to be able to exchange. But basically, it's a medium of exchange where, in any given society, they determine whether or not how much the coin or dollars or whatever is worth. So that's exactly what money is a medium of exchange.
Absolutely. And what would you say to that, Scott? Money is, how would you finish that sentence?
The way I would say is money is a tool, and it is just a means to an end. And when people focus on money as the end, they lose track of how to get it, because you need tools to build toward your end goal, dream, desire, purpose, whatever that may be. So for me, money's really a tool. It's not a measure of how successful somebody is, because I've seen a lot of rich, stupid people. And am I allowed to say that? But I've also seen a lot of broke, smart people. And I've seen people who've been multimillionaires lose it all just to rebuild it again. And it's because money is a tool to getting to where you want to be. And for me, I think when you focus on the result that money will give you, you get a much better result than focusing on money as the result, if that makes sense. Yeah.
And I agree with both of you. I believe that money is an energy that we share in this world for our purposes and the purposes of others, and the purposes of making life better for other people. I love that Tony calls himself a servant leader, because I believe that it is in service to others that we ourselves grow. And abundance, let's talk about abundance for a minute. Let's define abundance. What would you say abundance is? Tony, what would you say abundance is? And is it just attached to money?
No, excellent question. Abundance, again, looking up that word, is basically a large amount or an overflow. And if you look at it, it comes from a Latin word, and that's basically what it means, an overflow. And abundance is basically having more than enough. And I like that in every aspect of life, having more than enough. So,
yeah, absolutely. Scott, what would you say to that? How do you define abundance? You're muted.
So there we go. I'm going to have to say that for me, money, or not money itself, but abundance is defined as, like Tony said, more than enough. But the question is, what's enough? A lot of people are never satisfied. Even if they have what you and I might call abundance, more than enough, they don't perceive it as enough. So I'm going to say abundance for me is a perception. It is nothing more than what you believe it to be. And everybody, Teresa, your definition is, your goals are different than Tony's, are different than mine. And I've seen a lot of people that are abundant with things like love, abundant with happiness, abundant with God, and not just necessarily money. And so it's more of a definition of a person's purpose.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that abundance is really something that defines how well we live, whether it be financially, emotionally, spiritually, physically, relationally. If we are living an abundant life, which is promised to us in the Bible, Jesus came and said he came to give us life and life abundantly, so, and then Jeremiah 29:11 says that I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future. So during this time together, my intention is to provide people with information, education, tools, interactive conversation, all in support of abundant living. And you gentlemen have have been working with a particular tool that we'll talk about in a little bit, that helps people to put money in their pockets and save for their future and create a legacy for their next generation. So let's ask this, Tony, what obstacles have you faced in your life that have made you the person that you are today? Just even one or two little things maybe that you can share.
I think just growing up in a rough scenario, meaning, I was, born in a little small town, but before I was even 1 year old, my parents moved to the city of Houston, and we grew up in what most people would call the hood. And growing up in an environment where you had to fight, you had to struggle, on a daily basis, that made me, I think, more so than any other thing, to be the person I am today, because it caused me to want more, to want a better life for my family and for my loved ones, and to do something for my parents, because, I know they were doing all they could at the time. So the struggles, the sacrifices, has made me the person I am today. And so I'm thankful for the fact that I grew up the way that I did.
Yeah. A lot of people from, I want to say, our generation have a great appreciation for what they went through, because in overcoming obstacles and challenges, we appreciate more what we're able to bring into our lives today. How would you answer that question, Scott? What obstacles have you faced, and has it made you the person that you are today? You're laughing.
I'm laughing because I know my answer is not going to be something you're expecting to hear. My biggest obstacle is I'm too trusting. My entire life, I've been raised to see the good in people, and I tend to trust everyone, regardless of, I see the good in people. When somebody tells me that there's a gold mine out there, I believe them. And I have made a lot of bad investments in my career, trusting people who weren't really worthy of that trust, if I can be so bold. And my biggest obstacles are always, I'll make a bunch of money and then I'll do something with it, and all of a sudden it's gone. And I'm talking whether it's a stock investment that somebody told me about, this great new company startup in the stock market, and then turns out they were just hot air, and I made a big mistake. And so what I found is I need to be trustworthy, so that when I trust other people, they know to trust me, if that makes sense. And I won't associate with people. Tony and I do a lot of business together, and I've trusted him, and he's been one of those guys who has always come through. There's never been a thing that Tony Hubbard said he would do that he didn't do. There was never a thing that he said he wouldn't do that he ended up doing. So I'm just using you, Tony. Sorry to make you bashful, but you're a great example of a leader and somebody who knows what they're doing, knows what they're talking about. And I strive to do the same thing. One of my mentors is Robert Kiyosaki. And many people, I'm sure even listening, have heard of Robert Kiyosaki, and he's always preached value, like real estate always goes up in value. Precious metals always go up in value. And I spoke for Robert Kiyosaki, and everything he ever said came true. And so while I've made mistakes and obstacles, I've also overcome them by finding those that are trustworthy and following them. And when you follow people who are trustworthy, you get rewarded. I helped Robert sell a lot of real estate education over the years, millions and millions and millions of dollars. But I was rewarded for that by my own real estate empire growing, and by he's talking about precious metals, and I started investing in precious metals because of Robert Kiyosaki, and in doing so my wealth has grown because of it. And those are some examples. I'm hoping that makes some sense.
Yes, and for people who don't know who Robert Kiyosaki is, he wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's his claim to fame, and his philosophies are all abundance-based philosophies and and mindset. So, trust. I'm glad you brought up the thing about trust. I think we have all made mistakes, whether it be in investments, whether it be where we put our money, or think it's gonna multiply, and then we end up losing it. Or you trust someone, you give them money that they're gonna return to you, and they leave town with your money and themselves, never to be heard from again. Ask me how I know this.
How do you know this, Teresa?
Well, I think like you and like many people who are listening to us, we have experienced the same thing. So,
Can I add to that before you go to your next question? I didn't mean to interrupt, but I want to add something there. We were talking about, things coming to fruition that you put out there. And I think that's a bigger platform that you need to take as a basis. Granted, you never know what somebody else is going to do with your money. That's not, that could be out of your control. But what is a smart investment. And one of the things that Robert always talked about in Rich Dad Poor Dad is how poor people work jobs and wealthy people have people working for them. They provide the jobs. And I've always sought to be that person who is providing opportunities for other people. And that's a blessing. And I know Tony's much the same way. That's why we get along so well in business.
Yeah. And I agree with you to an extent, because, people will, a lot of people who have knowledge of, abundant living and ways that people live, the word job actually could stand for JOB, just over broke, depending on where you put your money, where you put your trust, how you use your talents. So the world today is full of entrepreneurial spirits. Entrepreneurial people are the bomb today, right? So both of you have been admittedly serial entrepreneurs. So Tony, where would you put your money today? Where would you trust? What is going on with all of the havoc that is going on in the world, with inflation soaring, economic storms in crypto and the stock market? How does one create consistency in abundant living? Where would you put your money today?
Excellent question. Well, like Scott said, I have mentors of mine in the financial world that I rely heavily upon their advice, and of course Robert Kiyosaki being one of those. And one of the last books he wrote, actually, I think last year, a little over a year ago, was called Fake. And in that book, in Fake, he was talking about where to put your money at and where you need to be at in the 21st century. And one of the things he said was crypto. He said, because it's decentralized, he said that he calls that the people's money. So, whether you understand or not, he believes everyone should have a certain part of their portfolio on that. And then he also said gold and silver, because that's God's money. And so that's my specialty. That's my area of expertise. I own very little as far as crypto, but I own quite a bit of gold and silver because I've been collecting it since 2008. That once I understood about it, I have a certain portion of my wealth in physical gold and silver because, again, I like the fact that he calls it God's money. So,
yeah, I love that he calls it God's money too, because when you think back to, it was part of the earth. We mined it from the earth. When God created the earth, the earth belongs to Him. So yes, it is God's money. So yeah, really good. So Scott, you mentioned a couple of times that Robert Kiyosaki also says to invest in silver and gold. So did you take that direction? Is that what you're doing now as well?
As a matter of fact, it is. I started investing in precious metals in the 80s. And I've seen it go skyrocket when we had 40 years ago. If you remember, we had high interest rates. If you remember, a mortgage on a house was 18, 19% on a first mortgage. People today are spoiled when they think about 3% as being high. I remember, a first mortgage of 19%. And when interest rates are that high and inflation is that high, then gold and silver skyrocket. And I remember seeing my metals, climb. Here's examples. You can get like a silver eagle. I keep them around my office all the time, and they're right here in front of me. Here's a gold coin. It's a 1 ounce gold coin. I don't know how well it's showing up on the screen, but that's worth a couple $1,000s today. I buy bars in bullion form. This is the 10 ounce silver bar. It even says AG on there for silver, right? 10 ounces. But then there's 100 ounce bar, a little thicker, a little bigger. And this thing's, they have me. But I keep it around. It'll put some damage on people, believe me. I keep those in all denominations, like a 5 ounce silver bar and things like that, and anywhere from 1 ounce to 100 ounce. And I even got these giant ones, and I keep them right by me all the time because it reminds me, of that money. But then it's really important you get them at the best prices, because there's a lot of people out there will take advantage of you. If you just go Google stuff online, you don't know who you're getting it from. You have to have a trustworthy, reputable source. And that's something that Tony and I have been preaching for a long time. But I started in the 80s. I still buy today. And I make it a habit of getting at least one collectible coin every single month, because I believe that it's a discipline that helps make us who we are. And I know you do the same thing, Teresa, right?
I do the same thing. Saving money is gonna build my personal wealth. It'll move my wealth up the ladder, and it'll also create a legacy for my son and any grandchildren that I might have down the line. Right now, I got a grand puppy. I spend money on him, but I save money for my son. And we're going to continue that conversation, this conversation in just a minute. And I want to let everybody know there is going to be a follow-up to this. And if you go to, going to give you a short link. It's bit.ly/CTMAD, standing for Conversation That Makes a Difference, --build wealth. You're going to be able to register for a call we're going to do on Thursday, and you'll be able to find out a little bit more about what these gentlemen are talking about. But in the meanwhile, we need to go to a break, so we'll be right back. You're listening to Conversations That Make a Difference on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network.
What if dreams can diagnose your life? What if we can meet the love of our life in dreams? Join host Kat O'Keefe-Canovis, the #1 internationally best-selling author of Dreams That Can Save Your Life, written with Duke University medical doctor Larry Burke. Dreaming Healing is where we'll explore dreams, research, and interpret dreams from you, the caller. Dreaming Healing shows can be heard every Tuesday at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern, with live shows on the first and third evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific Time on syndicated Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. Come live your dreams out loud with Kat.
Are miracles real? Can you move from mayhem to miracles? 30 prominent authors say yes as they share their high fives and down lows of challenges, abuse, addiction, and love. Experience hope, the magic elixir of miracles, through the personal stories of New York Times bestselling authors James Redfield, Dr. Bernie Siegel, Sister Jenna, Reverend Temple Hayes, and many more. If you like bestsellers, chaos to clarity, and crappy to happy, you'll love crying and laughing through mayhem to miracles. Sacred stories of transformational hope. Available now on Amazon and in bookstores worldwide.
Omega Institute, offering workshops, retreats, and online learning dedicated to awakening the best in the human spirit. For over 40 years, Omega has seen more than 1 million people come through its doors to grow, learn, and find a greater sense of purpose. With over 350 workshops to choose from, Omega offers something for everyone. Located in Rhinebeck, New York, just 90 miles north of New York City, Omega's natural environment and quiet pace allow for extraordinary experiences to unfold. Learn more at eomega.org or call 877-944-2002. Again, 877-944-2002.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
Scott, you got it. You got it. When that first comes up in the first break, I always feel like I get a chance to take this deep breath and then let any stress just go. Yeah. And it's great to be able to have that to say, okay, now settle in and let's continue the conversation, right? So it's awesome. Just don't fall asleep on me, Scott, okay? Awesome. So we're talking about abundance, abundant living, and we've titled this Abundant 2.0. So this is going to be a silly question maybe, but how can you ramp it up in today's economy? Like, what are some of the things we're talking, you're looking at the stuff that's going on in the world. And I asked a little bit about this before, but money, is it safe in the banks today? Is it safe in the stock market? I don't know. What can you do? Is there a better place to hold your capital besides your bank right now? Scott, I know you think so because you got that stuff laying around on your desk, right?
You're absolutely right. I do not believe in safe deposit boxes. I hate to tell you that, but any government entity can get your information on what your accounts are, can pull your cards, see that you have a safe deposit box and seize it just like that. Same with your bank accounts. And if you don't believe me, look what just happened in Canada. And I'm not getting political here, but I'm getting factual. The government can do whatever it wants to whomever it wants for whatever reason it wants, and you can't do anything about it. I don't keep a lot of money in banks. And by the way, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC, they guarantee up to like a couple of $100,000, but that's not true if the government wants to seize your money. Then it's not guaranteed, and you didn't have to do anything wrong. And so I'm not going anywhere down that road, but I'm saying I don't necessarily believe. I do have a bank account, of course, but I keep money to pay bills, and I keep a little extra for reasonable expenses. But I trade my money, my dollar bills, in for hard precious metals, like I showed you. And I want to point out why, because that's a bigger reason. The fact is that the dollar bill has been losing its value since the Fed was created. And if you really want to read anything, again, talk to one of my mentors, Robert Kiyosaki, and do any research you want. He just rails all over them. And the reason is that it's not backed by gold anymore. You've heard the old phrase, it's as good as gold. That came from the fact that the dollar bill was backed by gold and silver. But Nixon took us off that in 1971. And I know Tony can speak much more to that even than I can. And the fact is that once that happened, it didn't hurt immediately, but it hurt our grandkids. And it's hurting the future. And now the government, or the Fed, if you will, prints up trillions of dollars on paper that it's not even worth. And there's nothing backing it at all. The word of the government, and I'm not criticizing our government. I love the U.S., but what I am saying is it's just paper, and sooner or later, every government that has been backed by this fiat currency has fallen apart. Every one of them. And it's not a matter of if, it's just when our dollar is going to fall apart. And I know nobody believes that'll happen, but what never falls apart is precious metal. So I put a great portion of my wealth, if you will, my money, my currency, into metals. And I can trade those for dollars anytime I want. And the last thing I want to say about that is, anybody who knows anything about money right now knows that the U.S. dollar is dropping faster than it ever has, and we just hit a new inflation mark that we haven't seen in 40 years. It's been 40 years since we've seen the inflation that we now have just recorded. And it's only going to get more hyper because there's never been more money printed in the history of our country than has been printed in the last couple of years. So it's losing its value. That's why crypto is dying a little bit here. I mean, it's still really expensive, but it's way less than it used to be, and it's got a downward trend if anybody can spot it. So maybe that was a longer answer than you wanted, but your audience is here to learn about abundant living and about building wealth. And so that's my mission. That's Tony's mission. And I am putting my own money where my mouth is, but I'm not buying something that's as good as gold. I'm buying gold. And I want to put one last thing about it's not really buying it either. I'm trading dollars that have nothing backing them for something that has real physical value and always has, always will. And I think Tony could even build on that.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask Tony to do just that. So the fiat dollar, the money that's being printed every day of the week, because we're so in debt, that the United States is so in debt, and we won't get into the political conversation. I love that Scott said that, because I can go down that rabbit hole and we would stay there for a long time, but I won't go there. Tony, continue on, the value of, what Scott just said. I know you can tag on that.
Oh, 100%. Well, I think one of the saddest things that's happened in our society is that for the last now 50 years, because in August of 1971, President Nixon took us off the gold standard. Up until that time, they could only physically print what they could back up with the Fort Knoxes of the world. But now you hear $5 words on television like quantitative easing. And all that means is our government now has a license to print this stuff out of the thin air. And so, unfortunately, our society, most people don't know the difference between currency and money, okay? I mean, up until 1971, they were one and the same, But if you notice, when you make a deposit in your bank today, it don't say how much money you're putting in, how much currency you're putting in, okay? And currency, fiat currency, it comes from a French word, fiat, which means something that is circulated by force, okay? Because this is only money as long as the government tells you that it is, until the day that they tell you that it's not, okay? And because it's not backed by anything other than a government promise, that's why it's lost its purchasing power it's lost about 98% of its purchasing power over the last 50 plus years. And so I'm on a quest, Scott, we're on a quest to educate people on the difference and why we believe everybody should have what is called sound money, which is physical gold and silver, and to share some of the secrets that the wealthy have understood for years. And the largest governments and the largest financial institutions of the world, they're the ones that buy the most, and yet they say the least. So our quest is to let the world know, what the wealthy know that you and I should know. And so that's why I love the fact that I get a chance. I look at it like a modern day Noah, so to speak. We're telling everybody, it's going to rain. I don't have any time to argue with anybody. I'm just telling them it's going to rain, and I'm going to continue to build a boat. I'm going to keep on building this ark of safety for my family and for my loved ones.
Great analogy. Great analogy. And so why step into the role that the two of you gentlemen have stepped into and teach other people? There are a lot of people in this world who, when they find out a secret, they keep it to themselves. So why, Tony, why teach it to other people? And how can people, what would you say is the one thing that people need to bring to a conversation with you, an educational conversation about this topic?
Okay, excellent question. Well, the major reason why I teach it to the masses is that, as you read earlier in my bio, I pride myself on being that servant leader. My favorite book of all time, the Bible, said, first of all, it is more blessed to give than to receive. And the philosophy I live by from the great Zig Ziglar said that you can have everything you want out of life if you simply just help enough other people get what they want out of life. And that has served me well in my 21 years in entrepreneurship. And so the reason why I'm passionate about it, because I believe the masses should know. Well, once, one of the co-founders of the company that we're a part of is at billionaire status. And he shared something with me several years ago. He said, once we are blessed, we owe it to people to share it with them. Once we are blessed. And I believe that, and I believe you'll continue to be blessed if you continue to share what has significantly changed my life. So I'm on that quest. I'm passionate about it because, again, there's a lot of ills in our society when it comes to finances. And I love the fact that I've embarked upon a company that's allowed me to impact thousands of lives over the last 5+ years.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think people need to bring to a conversation with you? When they come to a conversation with you, go ahead.
What I focus on is solving the problem. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the two major problems that, when I have the conversation with individuals, most people will agree that their dollar doesn't do what it used to do, and so that's a problem. And most people will agree that the average American could not take a $400 emergency in their life. So there's a cash flow problem. And so what most people bring to me, and I, have a vehicle to help solve that, is a way for you to create wealth by accumulating, God's money of physical gold and silver. And if you need the cash flow, there's a way I can teach you how to earn part-time, full-time, and even life-changing income with God's money of physical gold and silver.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the Bible tells us that we can be transformed by the renewing of our minds, right? Romans. And I think a lot of people go through life with blinders on because the money of the times of their parents has a whole different meaning than the money of the times today. Sure. So I think that we need to shift how we think about currency versus finance. I love, currency versus money. I love that you did that, Tony. That was great. Today, money is not the same as it was. Currency is not the same as it was back in, I saved a bunch of silver certificates that came my way. And every once in a while you get change from somebody and somebody doesn't even recognize, somebody who talks about currency today, who sees the currency of today, they look very similar to the currency of yesterday. The one thing that's missing is that silver certificate across the top that makes it valuable, so they'll hand it over to a cashier as they're buying their groceries, not even realizing. And then if I'm next in line and I'm getting singles back, hello, come to mama, it's silver certificates. So because they're backed by something, they're worth something. And money has a completely different, money and currency have a completely different meaning today. So, I think that we need to transform the minds of people who come to a money conversation. And we had part of this conversation with Tasha Chen last week. She's doing great things to help people switch their money mindset in order to be able to welcome in wealth. Because if you come from a place of poverty, if you grew up in poverty, that's what you learn. And something has to flip inside you that says, as you said earlier, Tony, when we were talking about, you growing up, something has to change inside you in order for you to desire and create a better life for yourself and your family and your loved ones to come. So I think that's awesome. So, all right, let's see. What about peace and dreams? Scott, I'm going to go there with you. Like, what have you done in your life to personally create peace and make your dreams a reality in this, dare I say, chaotic world?
Right. Okay. Well, a simple answer to that is I've tried to, what's the word I can use best? Be of service to others. And nothing makes me personally happier than knowing I helped someone get something they want. It goes right back to the Zig Ziglar quote of you open the show with, Tony mentioned it, now it's my turn. I do believe you get everything you want when you help enough other people get what they want. And I've lived my life by this. When I'm on stage talking to thousands of people, and I have before, and I think, what would I be thinking if I'm sitting in their seats? And the first thing is, why should they listen to me? And in order to answer that, you have to be humble. You have to be of service. You have to give from an inner place. I want to say something that Tony mentioned, but he said it very fast. And I don't know if your listeners got a chance to really absorb it. So I'm going to make this crystal clear. The source of what I'm about to say, which is what Tony just said, is from the Federal Reserve. That is who has said this. That according to their records, 44% of Americans, that is almost half, could not weather a financial emergency of as little as $400, meaning without borrowing. In other words, they might have credit cards they could charge $400 on, but cash in the bank, or I'm not even talking precious metals, because people who can't afford $400 rarely have metals laying around. But the reality is, if you let that absorb for a second, what's wrong with America that half of the people can't come up with $400 if their life depended on it? Because sometimes it does depend on it. And the reason is they haven't been educated properly. They have been coming from a place of lack of knowledge. It's not, I don't want to use the word ignorance because that has a bad connotation, but they just don't know what they don't know. And if people haven't passed on abundance, then I believe I get back what I put out there. So if you can tell somebody, make a change, do something different, because obviously what you're doing now isn't working. And if they get that message, then you can start the healing. And so where I have felt the most joy in my life is really the abundance of knowing I'm helping as many people as I possibly can. That is, again, why Tony and I put together that meeting for you. And I know you're probably going to have to take a break, so I'm going to say it just in case. That link that you gave earlier, I hope people wrote it down, the bit.ly/CTMAD for, conversations that make a difference, -build wealth. CTMAD-build wealth. Tony and I are hosting a meeting where we're going to go through this step by step to help people open their eyes to what's going on and offer solutions that hopefully they can take. And we want to invite everybody listening to this to come and check it out and see what, if you learn anything.
Yeah. And for those of you, for those of you who want to be part of that conversation or watch what Tony and Scott have to say, go to that link. There's a place for you to register. We do have to take a break, and we will come back for the third and final segment of Abundance 2.0 right after this. You're listening to Conversations That Make a Difference on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. We'll be right back.
Darkest hours to brightest moments, transformation from despair to happiness, and chaos to clarity. Real people, real pain, real healing. Life-threatening illness, death, abusive relationships, divorce, and overcoming addiction are challenges these men and women faced head-on. See how they emerged stronger and happier. Buy the new book, Chaos to Clarity, Sacred Stories of Transformational Change by Reverend Patricia Caginello and Kathleen O'Keefe Canavas. Available on sacredstoriespublishing.com and worldwide through Amazon and other retailers.
In a world facing annihilation, a miraculous African nun rises to become the first female pope through a web of war, murder, and betrayal. Loved by some, hated by many, she becomes the deadly target of Islamic terrorists and her own cardinals as she introduces a new vision that will either save humanity or accelerate its destruction. 4 people must race against a nuclear holocaust to learn her astonishing secret. Pope Annalisa is available at petercanova.com, Amazon, and other online booksellers and bookstores worldwide.
Did you know that every word you speak matters? What you say and how you say it can make or break a relationship or shift the outcome of any situation. Are your conversations making a difference? Faith in God, gratitude, authenticity, and giving are Teresa Velardi's heart. It's in this spirit that she's focused on making a difference in the lives she's blessed to touch. Conversations That Make a Difference is now on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern.
Why are we here? How can we be happy? Questions asked from millennials to boomers. Crappy to Happy, Sacred Stories of Transformational Joy answers them using true stories of grit, grace, and love. James Redfield, author of The Celestine Prophecy, wrote in the foreword, "This book is a seminar about emerging truths and offers grounded solutions through the art of the comeback." Dr. Bernie Siegel, a contributing author, wrote, "Bodies die, but spirits and consciousness survive and recycle." So, grab some tissues, open your book, and prepare to cry and laugh till it heals. Crappy to Happy by Reverend Ariel Patricia and Kathleen O'Keefe Canavas. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and booksellers worldwide.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we're back for the final segment. We have about, maybe 12 minutes left. And a couple of things came to mind when we were in at the break. And right before we went to break, Scott, you said, we don't know what we don't know, right? And the other thing that I want to say is most people, how we do anything is how we do everything. So if we have abundant relationships, we usually have abundance in other areas of our lives. If we have abundance in finances, we usually have abundance in other areas in our life. But we talked also about knowledge. And even in the Bible, it says in Hosea 4:6, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And I want to give kudos to you guys and everyone else who is part of the team that does these presentations to bring knowledge to people on how they can do things better. And ultimately, when you change one thing, it changes, it's a snowball effect. It changes other things, So I think that what you are all, with you and the team that is behind you and the company in general, this is a company that they're bringing to the table here that was built by billionaires, a billionaire and multimillionaires, right? So I know that we have the Zoom set up for Thursday night. And I'm hoping that many of the people who are listening to this have written down that link. We're going to give it again before we go, and will join us in the conversation. You get to see that smile on Tony's face for a good portion of the time, and Scott, and they're gonna bring some knowledge that will have you asking questions about how are you doing things in your life today. So I'm going to ask you, Tony, what would you like to say, having taken into consideration everything that's been said so far, what would you like to say to the people who are listening to this conversation right now?
Well, I think the overall message is to understand that, when we do any type of presentations, we always follow in the format of problem, solution, and then application. And like we stated earlier, the problem is with, everyone I know is that, the dollar doesn't do what it used to do. That's a problem. It's a problem that $100 today won't buy what $100 would just 5 years ago or even last year. And it's a problem that, back in 2020, in lieu of the pandemic, over 50 million people found out they were not essential employees. And so, again, I'm passionate about helping individuals, overcome obstacles and utilize a vehicle that has allowed not only myself to be blessed and Scott to be blessed, but we've been able to help thousands of lives. One of the things we've been able to do is share this with a lot of religious organizations, and with the product that we're going to be talking about on Thursday being physical gold and silver. Robert Kiyosaki said it right. He said, it's God's money, because I've done the research. If you look in the King James Version of the Bible, gold is mentioned 417 times, silver 320. Money's only mentioned 140 times, but in each case, Greek and Hebrew, it's talking about physical gold and silver. Haggai 2:8 didn't say the paper is mine. He said the silver is mine, the gold is mine, said the Lord. So I love the fact I can empower people and put them in a better position. I believe in the philosophy that if I didn't come from a wealthy family, then it's my responsibility to make sure that a wealthy family came from me. So I get a chance to put that generational wealth, put it in place. And again, Teresa, the Bible talks about a good man will lay up an inheritance for his children's children. So I love the fact that I have my hands upon something special, that I can not only empower the lives today, but help individuals empower future generations. So I love that about it.
Wow. That's something for people to absorb, right? That's really something for people to absorb, because it is God's money, it's God's wealth, and I think that we have a responsibility. Since we have this knowledge, it is our responsibility to share it with others and give them the opportunity to flip their mindset so that they can create wealth in all areas of their life by making a decision to be open-minded enough to listen to what this conversation is all about. What do you have to say, Scott?
If you remember earlier, when you asked me what money is, and I said, to me, it's a perception. It's a means to an end. And people sometimes perceive it as the end, but it shouldn't be the end. It's the means to an end. And perception being the key, there's a lot of mistakes that are out there in perception. I'll give you one. People believe they can't afford to trade their dollars for precious metals. They think gold and silver is a wealthy man's game. It's only for the rich people. And that is a perception, but it's absolutely incorrect. It's for everybody. For example, the company we're associated with, people can buy fractions of gold. You see, gold right now is like $2,000 an ounce. And people think, I don't even have $2,000. How am I going to buy an ounce of gold? And the answer is, well, what if you got $20? Then you can buy 1/100th of an ounce of gold. What if you got $200? You can buy 1/10th of an ounce of gold. And we know where and how to do that, but most people don't have a clue because they don't know our resources. They don't know where we do it. And that is one of the things that our webinar on Thursday is going to talk about. Where do you go to be able to do that? So anybody can live abundantly. And I'm not saying, if you only got a few $100 in the bank, because remember, half of the people only do have 400 or less. And so you don't have to trade all your money and you still need it to live on. But you can set a discipline where you could put away a set amount of money, even $100. All you have, do you realize what would happen if you cut from a pack of cigarettes a day to 1/2 of a pack? How much money you would save in a month? Or Starbucks, how many people will spend $5 or $6 for a super grande latte, whatever? I don't drink coffee, so I don't know the names. But it's nothing to go spend $5 or $6, and they'll do that 2 or 3 times a day. Yeah. What if you cut $5 a day off for 30 days? That's $150. What if you took that and converted it to portions of silver or gold and set it aside for your family? Maybe you'd have thousands of dollars before you blink that you otherwise would have thrown away. So I'm passionate about it. We are. That's why we talk about it. And I think if we can change perceptions, people will believe that, well, you know what? Maybe this is something I can do, and I don't have to risk anything, because I've never seen over time gold or silver go down in value. They go up and down with the stock market sometimes, but over the long haul, it's always up.
Steady incline, yeah.
Right, Tony?
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Gentlemen, this has been an incredible conversation. And, going to what you just said, Scott, again, I had to go back to, you don't know what you don't know, and be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Open your mind to new possibilities, whether it's talking about this conversation or something else that may be tapping on your shoulder saying, hey, maybe you should switch this around in your life, whatever that is. Be renewed and use a different mindset that is going to open doors for you that you didn't know were there, and close doors. And with my goal in having conversations about abundant living is that people will be able to close the door to poverty in their lives and open the door to abundance, whatever that looks like for you. And it's going to be the same. It's going to be different for everybody. It won't be the same. The perceptions won't be the same. But whatever it is that's speaking to that part of you that says, maybe I should change the way I do this, or maybe I should look into that, or maybe I should get on the Zoom call that's going to happen on Thursday. The best way for you to do that is to go to that link, bit.ly/CTMAD-Build Wealth. So conversations that make a difference. If you can't remember the bit.ly link, go to conversationsthatmakeadifference.com and click on the words Build Wealth, and it will take you where you need to go to register for that meeting. In the meantime, we are going to, in 3 minutes, have to say goodbye to our audience for today. But I'm looking forward to what's ahead. And I know that this conversation is one that will be ongoing. And we can revisit it again. And we will certainly be visiting it on Thursday. So last words. We have 1 minute for each of you. Tony, you first.
All right. I would like to say, another definition I have as far as money is concerned, we've all heard for years that, money changes people, or abundance changes people. And I don't agree with that. I believe that money is simply a magnifier that will make a person better at whatever they already are. If a person is a good person, it will allow them to be more philanthropic. They can be a blessing to many, many causes. And if they're a bad person, it's probably going to allow them to be a bigger demon, so to speak. But I love the fact that, we can teach and educate people on the reason why they should have it. And again, I believe a life is just a lot better when you can live it in abundance in every area of your life. Back to you.
Thank you, Tony. Scott, last words, 1 minute.
Last words. I think whatever happens to anybody, myself, you, me, the world, whatever happens for a reason. I think there's a reason people tuned in to this broadcast. I think there's a reason that today is 2/22/22. I think there's a reason why people can maybe make one decision that could change their lives for the better. They can also choose to always look on the bright side and how can I make that one different choice every single day. And your life is nothing more than a sum of your choices. You can make a different choice every day. So make a good one. I'd love to see you Thursday night on the call, on the Zoom. We'll teach you a lot of things you may not have known.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for being part of this conversation that I'm sure will make a difference in a lot of lives. And I ask you to come back next week for another conversation that will make a difference. We're going to have two great guests that are going to be a completely different conversation, but that is very important as well. And my hope for each of you who are listening is that whatever conversations that you have in your world today, let them make a difference in the lives of somebody else. And with that, we end this version of Conversations That Make a Difference. We'll see you next time on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. Have a great day, everyone.
Tune in next time for Conversations That Make a Difference with host Teresa Velardi every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday on syndicated Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. Thank you for listening, and thank you to our producer Rachel and to our station owner Deborah Beauvais, working behind the scenes. Be sure to go to conversationsthatmakeadifference.com for your free gift. Make sure your conversations make a difference.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.